shot, go for the 1v1. That could be the game-winning play, just like that. Bot lane is pressured.
That's exactly what just happened. All the champion on now to the bottom lane's giving.
There it is! Actually gonna have to stop, but John dead, John gone. Harry with the culling, but it's just not enough damage. He needs to make a play right now. Oh no, they're all joined together. That's one, that's two, a double kill for him, a triple. Empress divide onto Johnny. Oh my god!
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the LCO. It is going to be another banger day of matches. Of course, I'm Mac, and here is with me no one because we're not up to that point just yet. And speaking of points, yesterday had a whole lot of points going on. At least the first match, you know, Pentanet and Peace, that was absolutely crazy. And unfortunately, it wasn't as good as we expected, but this is ending the first damn round of the round robin today. So let's have a look back at yesterday before we get into today's action.
To arrive in the fight, Appy will decoy out, but that puts Peace out of position. And I think that might have been a runaway W that's connected onto Violet. Unfortunate for Peace, that might just be the game.
Yeah, looking like...
Will survive, but does go down, and Claire again with an R ultimate, comboed with the shock ultimate, the shock wave indeed. Oh dearie me, Gravitas, for a moment I thought there was some hope, but the wombo combo.
Yeah. Still looking good.
I was wondering if Virgins was close to 6. Seems like it doesn't matter. Maximize is going to go hard. Winterer does try to keep himself alive. How is he still alive? Oh, never mind, because Chungi has arrived and Sybil is going to do his best to try and chase Vengeance down, but he just won't be able to catch him. Chungi with it. And so now, looks a little bit silly. The culling available. Winter is throwing that right into the Skarner, and all of a sudden, Legacy maybe have gone from 50% to about 80%.
And there you have it, a whole lot of action coming in yesterday. And of course, as I mentioned, that brings us to the last round of the first round robin of matches. And of course, looking here, we've got Elfboy and Rustman, the deadly duo, with me yet again to bring you all the action for day 2 of week 3. So, Jordan, I heard you woke up late today. Do you want to tell us how you're feeling now? Are you awake yet?
I am feeling a bit more awake. It took me a little while. I had to have my Weet-Bix in the morning, got that sorted, so I was all good after that. And then I felt a bit sleepy again, you know. You get a little bit lethargic after you have a bit of a feed. But then I had some more food. I had a hot dog, and now I feel good. I'm ready to cast some League of Legends. I'm keen for today. And great to be back with you, Mac. I love working with you. Every single day is just a pleasure.
Not only did that catch me off guard, but the fact that you feel good after a hot dog is something I've never heard before. Also, Rusty, how are you feeling this fine Wednesday?
Yeah, good. Went and had a big gym session. No one else at the gym, Mac, so you can control your own music. Basically, spent an hour in heaven, so ready to go for today's games.
That sounds like a place I'd like to be. But look, we'll get there later tonight. I've already gone to the gym once. Maybe doubling down. Who knows? I guess we'll see. But that's not what we're here for. We're not talking about our gym routines. We're talking about the league teams in at the LCO. And speaking of, let's have a quick look at the standings and where everyone is currently sitting. Right at the top there, you've got Pentanet, who managed to take down Peace yesterday. So they are the only undefeated team currently. And I guess we'll see if that trend continues throughout the second round. Going down the ladder, you've got Peace in second, Chiefs in third. Fourth, the only tie at the moment for that 5th position, which is going to be Direwolves and Order. And then all tied for 6th, all 1 and 5 is Gravitas, Mammoth, and Legacy. Speaking of Legacy, they did manage to finally get their first win on the board. So I guess the question is it upwards from here for the trees?
Well, I mean, you want to say yes, right? Looking at their game today, they're against Mammoth as well, so it's a possibility that they're in the makings of a 3-0 week potentially for Legacy. And I mean, imagine that after going 0-5. So perhaps the run begins now.
Yeah, it'd be a good place to start as well. And is there anyone that you would like to see get some wins on the board today, Jordan, you know, personally?
I personally would like to see Legacy go back-to-back just to sort of recuperate a little bit of the losses that they've had earlier on in the season. I do feel like they're a better team than what their scoreline represents. Just some of their games have not really gone the way they would have liked them to post the 15-minute mark. So for me, Legacy is one of the more exciting teams to actually watch in this competition, and if they can get a couple more wins in the next few days, then they might actually start being able to push for a top 5 spot in playoffs. Obviously, sitting at 1-5 right now, is not a great scoreline, but a good chance today for them to go up to 2-5 at least.
Yeah, certainly, and that will be the final game of the day. Legacy going up against Mammoth, but, you know, we've seen some good signs from Mammoth as well. Starting things off, though, is going to be Dire Wolves and Chiefs at 6 p.m. 7 p.m. You've got Pentanet and Gravitas, which looks like on paper should be a one-sided affair, but I've also heard rumblings that there could be an Amumu pick in the distance. I guess we'll see. And also at 8 p.m. you've got Order and Peace going head-to-head, which could be another potential close one if Order play well and Peace play like they did yesterday.
Yeah, it could be. It'll be interesting to watch that because Order did come. They are off the back of a defeat yesterday and very much looked out of sorts. So hard to say that's exactly what you'd expect from them. And that fourth game to me is interesting. I would be looking for a Mammoth win personally, Mac, just because I tipped them. No other reason.
Ooh, you leaking
Spoilers.
predictions early. There's no
everyone will
surprises
forget.
there anymore. Well, while we're doing that, I think there's no surprises that I've probably gone for Order in that Order-Peace matchup. I don't know why. Probably just to keep it different, so it's not us all going for the same one. Anyway, let's move forward. We have to quickly talk about Pentanet being the only undefeated team. So far, so good. Everything we've seen from them looks immaculate, you know, especially up against Peace yesterday. Peace just looked all out of sorts. Their cohesion, their chemistry, and their ability to go in together as team fights was almost non-existent at some points. Sometimes it was just one player running in looking like they were trying to go for a highlight play with absolutely no follow-up, so maybe something going on in the communication there. I'm sure when we do get a chance to talk to Peace today, we can figure that one out. But we're talking about Pentanet, and look, undefeated. Will that trend continue? It certainly looks like it at the moment. They just seem to have all their protocols in order, everything going their way, and even today they've got an easier opponent, so maybe it's a good way to finish the first round.
They do seem like the smartest team, and they're looking like the team that makes the least mistakes as well. I mean, touching on that game yesterday, I did feel like Peace kind of made it easy for them in some aspects. Certainly didn't look like a peak Peace performance in my mind, but Pentanet is a team that just, they don't make mistakes, and therefore they don't get punished not nearly as much as the other teams, and obviously they're quite easily able to capitalize on the mistakes that you're making. So I have to imagine that we're going to continue to see that undefeated streak continue until maybe we get to see the Peace matchup against them again, obviously later on in the season. But even that game yesterday, it kind of looked easy, to be honest, for Pentanet.
It was.
And that's where it's worrying.
No, you're right, Mac.
Oh, I'm right. Yes, it
There
was
you go.
worrying. Yes, I'm very right about that.
Oh, okay. I'll talk then. Look, the thing that I wanted to say is it was easy because they literally gave like draft Exodia to PGG, right? So like looking at the Peace Pentanet game, like I think we all expected a little bit more from it. And what we got was a draft difference, really. They just made it so easy for PGG. And if there's one thing we can talk about with this team, it's that they are very good at playing one draft style. And if you give them all their best enrolled champions in that style, there's like, how are you going to win that, right?
And the fact that, you know, Udi got across the line as well, which was something that we've only seen once, and it was a mistake at that point, and then yesterday it looked like it was a mistake again. So maybe that just needs to be the continued trend of making sure Udi does not make it into the Rift. And I dare say that is probably what we're going to see going forward. Although, you know, as we were saying, it did seem like there was potential for the Amumu pick. But now we are still focusing on jungle, so let's bring up what we expect the key picks for that jungle position to be. And so far, we've seen a whole lot of Lilia, Hecarim, Jarvan, and Olaf. I feel like we've seen less Olaf, but he's still a very good early game champ.
Yeah, looking at the champion picks, so Olaf is still in the top 4 if we remove the fact that Udi was like permanently banned, has only been picked twice, and Viego is globally disabled. So he would have probably been on this list if he was enabled, but of course is not. So Jarvan and Olaf kind of get promoted to being in the top 4 key picks. One of the biggest things that you'll note here as well is the other 2 champions, Lilia and Hecarim. Lilia is basically the be-all end-all champion right now, and you're either seeing a Hecarim ban for the Lilia pick, or you're seeing Hecarim instantly picked into it as well. And a couple of really important key features about this matchup and why you're seeing it so often. Hecarim's always being picked into Lilia, first of all. Basically, from level 6, you handle Lilia at all times, everywhere on the map. If you see her one-on-one, you're going to win that trade as the Hecarim. If she puts you to sleep, you can use your ultimate, and the duration of the sleep is your ult, which still means you're relevant, you know? So there is actually nothing that a Lilia can do. You're as fast as her as well, and you're going the tank build, where you're super influential from even longer distances to try and get to these locations and match where the Lilia goes.
Yeah, I feel like we've seen Lilia picked almost every game that it's been left open, and obviously that trend's going to continue. Another pick I've seen a fair amount of, I feel like, is Kane. Like it's been pretty solid. So even though it's not on the key picks, it's more of a carry pick, right?
Yeah.
I feel like it's been a bit more of a comfort pick for certain players, more so than anything else.
Yeah, spot on. It's mainly a Swathe thing. We have been, so to your point though, Mac, we have been seeing Swathe around the globe, not just in the LCO. We've seen Kane picked into a lot of different situations. In North America, they just lap that up straight away. You know, they just are finding opportunities to pick it instantly if they see the Lilia themselves. So I wouldn't be surprised to see more of it in Oceania as time passes, but only 2 times so far, I believe, in the LCO.
Oh, well, there you go. So hopefully we get to see a bit more, because it's been exciting at least one of the times, and then the other time was we've gone blue Kane instead of the red Kane, and it seemed to be a huge mistake. But let's leave that point for the moment. Let's move forward and see what you guys at home have been cooking up in the kitchen in the From the Fans segment. Apparently you have sent in a couple of questions, a couple of memes, a couple of absolute good... Oh, what's this? Flip at BA Flip NA. The only time I watch LOL is when Legacy plays, but at LCO always puts on a great show. Hashtag #1 LCO fan. Hashtag Tree Gang. I didn't know Tree Gang was a hashtag, but I like it. And if you want to show us how you guys at home are the #1 LCO fans, please use that hashtag. Hashtag 1LCO fan, also at LCO, so you make sure we see it, and show us exactly how big of a fan you are for all the orgs in the league, and you will be in the running to win yourself a very pretty Teemo statue. So hopefully that works out. Anyway, Jordan, what were you going to say on that one?
I was going to say, that guy just seems like a Legacy mega fan. You know, he's got the color coordination going on. I was trying to count how many Legacy stickers I could see there. I think there was one on the PC and one what looked like it was on a Switch case or something like that. Yep. And there was a tree in the background, and he had Legacy as his display, you know, his desktop background. So, I don't know, this guy really just loves Legacy, it seems like.
A bit of everything going on, and we do have one more piece from the fans, and it is going to be a question directed at us here on the desk, and that is from Good Flex Son. And the question is, hey gang, if you were playing bot lane and you could have any at LCO support, who would it be, and why is it Dragku _os, the big man? Well, obviously, I'm just going to go with that and say, yeah, Dragku, because he's a funny guy. You know, he's beautiful, he's pretty, and he's jacked. So it's everything I want in my support.
I feel like it's an awkward question when myself and Rusty are on the show, because we're both support players. So it's almost like it would be a case where we'd have to say, well, who's going to actually play the bot lane? Who's going to actually play the AD carry role? Maybe you can go for something like a fasting center and, I don't know, another support there as well. And then you both feel like you're getting at least a little bit of that support gameplay going on. So I suppose I might go with like Aladoric. I feel like I like his Jarvan support. I think that's pretty cool. I'd like to lane with that.
That's fair. I mean, the question is, why is it Dragku?
Yeah,
right?
I suppose.
Like, I don't think I necessarily want to.
That Good Flex Son is affiliated with the Chiefs org, and that might be why he said Dragku. And I just leaned into it because
could just be imposing chest as well. Who knows? It definitely is an imposing chest on the man. I personally, I think I would be picking Decoy though, Danny down there, because he's just such a chill dude. So you'd have a good time regardless.
Well, there you go. So it is time to move into the first matchup of the day, which also happens to be the Chiefs taking on Direwolves. But before we talk shop and get too deep into the teams, we do have another beautiful rivalry piece put together by the content team to have a quick look at and pretty much see how the rivalry historically has worked between these two teams.
So the rivalry between Direwolves and Chiefs has obviously gone on for a very long time, and there have been dedicated fan bases for each of the teams. I think it started mainly in 2017.
2017 onwards, Direwolves definitely had the leg up on us. I guess they were like the start of our downfall in a sense.
But game 4, do or die at the moment for the Chiefs. Direwolves 1 win away from representing Oceania at Worlds.
Destiny, hook is on, Swiffer is dead, Ray locked down Raze, Chippies gets that kill, and Spooks is stuck between the entire Wolfpack. Direwolves will be the first team from Oceania to go to the World Championship.
Losing the finals in 2017 was tragic. During the second split, we ran the gauntlet and then played Direwolves in the finals and lost 3-1. Oh, my laning is just so awful. It's like I'd forgotten all the fundamentals.
It was like a little bit heated or passionate.
We knew we had to kind of shit talk one another because it was not only was it kind of fun, but it also added to the stakes of when we would compete against one another. But everyone took it pretty well.
I said to myself that I was going to get MVP. Even if no one tells me I got MVP, I know myself I'm going to carry this team and I'm going to win grand finals. So
just because we were the dominant team at the time, the rivalry kind of was born out of necessity. They were kind of the newer generation of players.
On reflection, I think they were definitely ahead of the meta in OS in terms of like the things they did individually. I know Fire was bootcamping in Korea for a long time. From that year onwards, when they came back from Korea and they did all that kind of training, they became very difficult to verse.
But look at Fantics go. Big petrifying gaze to a Swiffer. Not enough. He jumps low. No in the back line to a Swiper, but he can't get the perfect ultimate he desperately needed. Raze goes around, trying to get on top of Fantics. Flushes away from Fire, but the Direwolves collapse. They ace the Chiefs. They're going to take game 2 as they march towards the Exodus here.
I've never lost to the Chiefs while I've been on Direwolves, so I would say the win ratio is a little bit tilted in my favor at the moment.
A player on Direwolves people might be surprised by as the year goes on is Claire. Claire was really solid and always at the top for years as a mid laner.
I have no doubt that Claire is going to be like a pretty good top laner. I'm sure you'll understand like wave management, all those kind of skills are transferable from mid lane.
It's really interesting to see how players develop when they switch roles, because they take a lot of the knowledge that they just had when they were in their prior positions, and then it really influences how they play the map specifically.
I think Kisei is a good up-and-coming player. This is his first professional split. He reminds me of when I was like his age. I think he plays in a style that a lot of rookies seem to play in, which is like hard carry, like focus on yourself kind of play style.
I think all the players have potential. I think there are some players on Direwolves that's going to be really hard to compete with because I've practiced with them.
I think in mid lane, I'm unmatched in the laning phase, so I'm going to be looking to put all the other mid laners in the ground.
We have people that, you know, are younger and a bit hungrier, so the hard work and the effort that we put in will probably show.
I think last year, 2020, is the year where I felt like Direwolves and Chiefs had a bit more of a rivalry, but that's probably more because a lot of the players on my team last year were friends with the players on the Direwolves, so like we bantered with them a lot.
In terms of the Direwolves, I know that Shock and Gunkrab, for example, used to be on a team with Sway, so you could see these kinds of things emerge. That would be kind of like the friendly rivalry that I was talking about, because you have that kind of history with one another and that extra desire to win, and then that spills over eventually into the rivalry, and every time you play them you get that extra kind of desire to win. It's going to be very exciting to kind of follow and see what happens.
That was great to hear from some legends from the past who unfortunately are no longer with us here in the LCO, and some that are, you know, some of the up-and-comers, some of the experienced players who are still on Direwolves and the Chiefs. So it's going to be exciting to see where this matchup goes today. Of course, we did have a chat at the beginning of the split saying it is a fresh slate, and because a lot of these teams are different to what they used to be, it's kind of like this rivalry can be rewritten. But at the moment, both these teams are tied at 4th, so it's going to be a little bit hard. Wait, is Chiefs 3rd? Chiefs are 3rd,
Chiefs
right?
should be 3rd. They're 4-2. Direwolves are 3-3.
Yeah.
Tied with Order.
Yeah. Okay, so it's Order that they're tied with. But it means that there is a chance for Direwolves to get that W and put themselves tied in the 3rd place, which would be nice, wouldn't it?
Well, it'd be a big jump up from where they came into this week. They were sitting in 5th, the potential maybe to even start getting challenged for that 5th place if they would have lost that game yesterday. But now, as you say, they have a potential chance to push themselves up into 3rd place, depending on how the Order game goes, depending on how this game goes. And they've got a pretty good roster across the board. I mean, we've spoken a lot about Shock. I feel like he's really been the standout in the last couple of games that we've watched from them. I also did enjoy watching Cupcake playing Thresh. Yesterday, he obviously didn't manage to grab that champion. He was on the Alistair. But I think for me, the main person to touch on was Claire. I mean, I really felt like earlier on in the season, he was struggling a little bit up in that top lane. I was fairly vocal about that. But the last 2 performances that I've seen from him on the Gragas and then on the Gnar, I feel like he's actually stepped up quite a lot, particularly in those team fights, and is having a bit more of an impact there. His laning yesterday even still did struggle. I felt a little bit against Safa, but overall I felt like he had a lot of impact, and that was really good to see. So if that starts to come online for Direwolves and really starts to be a big threat similar to, you know, what we come to expect from Claire when he was playing as a mid laner, then I think we're definitely going to be seeing a very solid roster coming through here, and I'm hopeful that that is going to be the case because they're an exciting prospect.
100%. I mean, we're looking for another person to help Shock get the team over the line, right? The last 2 games has been Claire, like you rightly highlight. But in saying that, the rest of the team also has kind of been lifting around him. You know, I was the first to criticize Cupcake and Izzy a Thresh one trick, but he shows on the Alistar that he has what it takes. And, you know, the more they add those champions, the more comfortable they start to get as time passes, the more confident you'll be in tipping this team to see them win games.
Well, look, that's Direwolves in a nutshell, and we are going to have a quick look at Chiefs as well. They are the other team in the matchup today, and they've been looking pretty good so far. Of course, you're looking at Mboma, who's been doing some good things down in the bot lane. Swaith as well, a big name in the jungle, trying to create a lot of those plays, and Kisei, the rookie at mid. So, what are your thoughts on Kisei in particular, you know, and how his, I guess, inaugural season has gone?
I definitely think that Kisei is one of those players that does have a lot of potential. Remember that he is super young. I believe he's turning 18 this year, so is coming in with the rookie season and, you know, is playing with a jungler that is very good in regards to, you know, his pathing and his optimizing in the jungle, but hasn't always played around optimizing his laners and team players in lanes and how they perform. So we've seen some really big highlight moments from him in the first game on the Zoe, I remember, as well as this one. That particular taunt that you just saw was huge. So the player that has a lot of potential comes in, looks like he's playing fairly confidently as well, does still give you high hopes for Kisei as the split and seasons progress for the mid laner of the Chiefs.
It's been going pretty well, and I feel like if Chiefs get themselves together, there's a very high chance that they should be the favourites going into this matchup. But again, what we saw from Direwolves yesterday is that chemistry finally starting to come together. But that brings us to the point we all love, and that is Nat T3A down on the side lane today, I believe. How you doing?
Yeah, good. I'm flattered that you guys look forward to this part of the broadcast.
It's always good to have a different face on the desk. You know, Jordan's face sometimes gets a little bit annoying, so it's good. It's like a breath of fresh air.
Fair enough. Well, to see some more fresh faces, I am joined by Guncrab and Lived. Guys, thank you both so much for joining me. It might be week 3, but I finally get to interview you guys. I'll start with you, Guncrab. How you guys feeling over there in the Direwolves camp as we're about to close out, you know, round 1 of the round robins?
We had a shaky performance last night against Gravitas, but I think we're feeling pretty confident about turning our season around with the shaky start, and I think Chiefs will just be like another stepping stone towards that goal.
Hopefully, fingers crossed for you guys. But Lived, what about you? How is it down there on Chiefs, and how you guys feeling? You didn't get to play yesterday, so, you know, are you more nervous, or has this just made you more hungry for a win?
Yeah, we're a bit sad we didn't get to play yesterday. We really wanted to verse them, but I think we're just coming in here like we're just not tired at all from yesterday. We're just fully rejuvenated, so I think coming in today we're quite confident to come out with the win.
How is the prep been going for you guys against the Direwolves? Because Mboma said, you know, that yesterday the Mammoth game would have been a little bit more trying to be comfortable in the champs. So what has it been like now for the prep against Direwolves?
Yeah, I think we're pretty well matched into them. I think we have very strong lanes into them. I think as long as we don't let their mid lane get too far ahead, I think we've got a very good chance of winning this game.
And what about you, Guncrab, for the Direwolves? What's the prep been like against Chiefs?
They have some pretty strong laners, especially topside. So I think that'll be the main focus for them, and I think we're pretty well prepared for what will come.
I do also have to ask, we saw a little bit of a content piece about the old rivalry. You know, even though you guys are a bit of fresher rosters, there seems to be some old teammates and some old friends going head-to-head tonight. So is the pressure probably more intense because you're coming up against old teammates with some of you guys, or is it not there at all?
For me,
All lived?
not really. There's just it's just the same match. I don't think it really affects me or my team that we're versing old teammates.
Yeah, well, me and Claire both role swapped from mid lane, so I'm curious to see how this is going to go. So may the better mid lane / top laner win.
Do you think you have a little bit more of an advantage of him with that transition, or you're like, nah, it's just been tough for both of us?
When I first started playing top lane, I think I had a bit of the same problem as him. We both just had the same issues of dying a lot. So I think I've got a lot more time in top lane now, though, so I think I have the advantage over him.
Great, thank you both so much for the little insight as we head into this game. Good luck, and I'll be looking at the top lane. I think between you, Lived, and Claire, it'll be interesting.
Awesome.
Well, battle of the not top laners, I guess, is what we're going to be seeing today. So thank you for that one, Nat. That was sure something. And that's the first time we had both Lived and Gunkrab on the show. So, props to them for doing such a good job.
Yeah, I can't believe it's taken me until week 3. I thought I could have gone at least through everyone in all the rosters for interviews, but there's still that little secret gem every now and then in a team.
Well, there you go. So we've heard from the players, and now it's time to hear from us and see where our allegiances lie going into the first match of the day. And we are split down the middle here. Elfish Guy and myself both going for the Chiefs, with Rusty and Nat on the Direwolf side of things. So I'm going to start with Rusty, the big man with the big numbers there. Almost 20 correct predictions so far. Tell us your secret and why you've gone for DW.
I'm no Jews first of all with predictions, but I'll do my best. Basically, when I've seen Direwolves play their last 2 games, it does feel like they're starting to find more and more form. And I ran with the assumption, let's say both teams play their best, who wins? And I still think that would be the Direwolves hands down. So that was why I chose them.
All right, what about you, Nat?
Look, I think it is hard because both of them, seem to still be finding their grounds, especially with communications. But I do remember you saying yesterday that Chiefs have never won a game back-to-back, right? You said that, didn't you, Mac?
Ooh, someone said it. I think it was, yeah.
Rusty? Okay, I knew it was someone said it. And so, I think if we're going by that logic, technically they didn't play yesterday, so they have to lose today.
All right, I like the logic. And for myself, I was just going, look, I feel like Chiefs are the favourites going into the matchup, so I'm just going to try to get back as much as I can in this one, and I'm sure Jordan, roughly the same thing?
Well, you're going to need it, I think, based on some of the predictions I've seen from you for the rest of the broadcast. I'm glad, actually, Nat, that has gone for the Direwolves pick here, because it will give me the opportunity to overtake her once again. But I actually sort of lean on Chiefs here. I think I've seen a little bit more consistency from them across the season, although I do agree with what Rusty said in that Direwolves have started to look a little bit better of late. I'm just not quite at that point yet where I think that they have overtaken Chiefs in terms of an overall sort of holistic look. So I'm giving the benefit of the doubt to Chiefs here. If that starts to slip away, I think once we do get into the second round matches, you might actually see me flip my prediction here. Obviously, that'll depend quite a lot on how Direwolves are going to continue this run and if they can continue this run. But they're on for a potential 3 in a row, so that would be not too shabby at all.
Well, there you go. And that brings us one step closer to Champ Select. So you know what that means? That means we have to say goodbye to Nat. So go enjoy the side lane, side line, whatever you want to call it. And we'll see you after the game.
Side lane, I like it.
I was just checking to see if she said bye today, but she just laughed and disappeared off the side. But look, it's fun. It's time to do a little research and development and assessment. Esports Assessment Labs going over there. I think, Rusty, you actually managed to find some time to go and test yourself. And how'd that go? Looks like so far Skimmy's been coming in first in terms of attention. I think he's cheating. He's 95% in the attention bracket.
Might be hacking. We need to confirm that.
Sometimes you have to go on a website and you have to say, I'm not a robot. I'm not sure that he's allowed to click that.
Ooh, maybe he just jumped the authentication. Anyway, authentication? I'm just making up words. Yep. Anyway, I'm making things up. I'm losing it, as per everyone is these days. And you know what? It's time for Champ Select. Get me out of here and get the people not making things up that know things for seriousness in these two. Just them, not me. See ya.
See you, Mac.
Nailed
look,
it.
Yeah, not sure about that one. But anyways, let's see how we go about this cast, Rusty. Hopefully we can do a better job than Mac can of throwing to the Champion Select. Big matchup, though. Chiefs, if they do drop this one, are going to be equal scoreline with Direwolves. And as you've rightly said, Direwolves seem to be on a bit of a comeback hype train. So this could be the start of something pretty impressive from Direwolves.
Yeah, for me, I was looking at this game today, and I think the most apt description I could find for it was like the consistency cup between both of these teams, because they have been on and off constantly in regards to their performances and what they look like. While Direwolves have looked okay back-to-back, it was against Legacy and Gravitas, so I'm not saying that they are fully back online top form just yet. We still need to see them really prove themselves, and for me, this is the first proper test of proof. You know, are you guys back to win?
Looks like we're going to be seeing the Udyr left available by Direwolves, which is an interesting choice. They actually opted for the Heimerdinger ban as well, obviously targeting Boma with that one. But they themselves have left a couple of strong champions available to just pick up on the second and third selection. So they do get the Gnar and the Lilia. So far, so good for Chiefs, though. I feel like Udyr probably works for Swaith. We did see him play it on day one, and he also likes to play those kinds of carry junglers. So definitely in the wheelhouse.
I'm just wondering what Lived will play now, because it's just a known matchup. You know, the Gnar has been picked in. I wouldn't say that Gnar is above and away the best blind pick top laner at all, ever. I've always thought that there are options to counter it, but anytime I've named one of those options, it's either not been picked or it's lost the matchup. So, like, I really have found myself confused with what's happening in top lane against Gnars. So Direwolves, they're going to pick it. I don't think that's the best pick, but it's worked, so they can happily prove me wrong there.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that one goes. I will say, I'm pretty happy to see Claire on Gnar. I think he's been quite good on it. Obviously, we've only seen the one game from him, which was yesterday. But if he can avoid dying in lane and start to get to those team fights and basically team fight the way that he did yesterday, I think that's going to work quite nicely for Direwolves, particularly with the composition that it looks like they're putting together here. You got Shock on Aphelios, he's going to have a big frontliner in Gnar, he's going to have the sleep available, obviously, from only on that Lilia. And I can see the composition starting to come together nicely for Direwolves.
Yeah, I think this is one of those compositions for Direwolves where you just put an Orianna and an Alistar there like you had yesterday and it's perfect. You know, like in regards to what it is as a standalone composition, I think that's awesome. Looking at what the Chiefs have done here, they've gone for the third pick Camille into Gnar. Again, fine matchup for the Camille. But it does open up the possibilities of banning a Galio and getting rid of some of the team fighting combos away from the Chiefs, which means the last two picks that they have are much more difficult to actually decide on what the best options are. Udyr is like a soft engage. Camille is a soft engage. I'd say they're both more complementary. So they would like something that can go in and be aggressive through their remaining two options. Something through mid lane is less likely. So Dragku with the Rel is what I would probably say is most likely.
Certainly wouldn't be a bad option. Just taking a look at the top laners that Lived has played, he hasn't actually picked up Camille so far either. So I'll be interested to see how he's going to go about that one. We do see the Orianna banned away though, and that was by Direwolves, so certainly not going to be something that we'll see Shock playing back to back. He's got a lot of champions available to him though, certainly does have quite a wide champion pool based on what we've seen so far.
Yep.
Interesting to see the Syndra gone as well, which I feel like is maybe a bit of a curveball here for Direwolves, but they've opted in for the Azir. Not a bad choice. Again, one that Shock will be comfortable on, having played that a little bit this season already.
Yep. Just a great choice, actually. Azir is maybe one of the best, if not the best mid laner around the rest of the globe. I've been watching a lot of NA, to be honest, so I can't say that with absolute certainty. But I'm a big fan of the Azir. The Chiefs also banned away the Syndra. Direwolves themselves banned the Ori, so in terms of options, it was more limited away from what Shock was most comfortable on, but their scaling's insane, and you know the Chiefs respond with kind of what we were expecting.
Yeah, Zoe coming through for Kisei. I've seen a couple of good games from him on that champion so far, so I don't mind that, but just as a team composition holistically, see the Taric actually coming through from Direwolves, so strong team fighting for Direwolves. That's really what that composition screams to me. And maybe not quite so much for Chiefs. So I think Chiefs are going to be looking here for skirmishes. They're going to be looking for picks a little bit more so, whereas Direwolves can try to force a 5v5, and by rights, they should win it.
Tarek's a weird option, though, Elfish. I feel like, you know, the thing that they have, you can look at their comp and say they have engage, but all of it can be risky without that first easy engage option. You know, it's not an Ornalt from far away. It's Claire going in. If it misses, he could die. It's only going in, but if he doesn't have Azonias or doesn't hit 3 people, he could die. Shock's similar thing, right, being the Azir. Tarek kind of enables them to be more bold in their forms of engage that currently exist, while not providing hard engage or CC itself. So it can work. And into the Alistar matchup, of course, he tries to combo you, just press E, and you've stunned him no matter what, so he won't be able to get the follow-up trample stun. He would have to run phase rush to keep up with you. So it's not a bad option for laning. Definitely not an expected pick, though.
Yeah, I don't mind it, though. We don't get to see Tarek all that often, so something a little bit different will be pretty fun, and hopefully it'll go well for Cupcake. I think it does do a little bit to shut down the Chiefs' engage if they do get on top of the Aphelios. I mean, there isn't going to be too much to really be able to work around the Tarek stuns, and even then the ultimate, of course, should be fairly easy to time for Cupcake, unless, you know, maybe Zoe comes in from the side and hits a good Q that is just going to blow someone up. But you just think about it being a bit more consistent damage across the board from the Chiefs rather than raw burst that's going to stop that Tarek ult from being super effective. Either way, we're going to have to find out. I like the Direwolves team composition a little bit more here than what the Chiefs have been able to get, but that isn't necessarily to say that Chiefs aren't going to be able to make this one work.
Yeah, they still have a lot of tools. I would say you're looking at some split pushing threat mainly from Lived. If Swaith is able to support him, their mid-game spike is going to be phenomenal as well. You've got the Zoe getting that first completed Luden's item up. Maybe Everfrost now, who knows? And then you've got Emboma on the Kai'Sa, who spikes incredibly hard with 1-2 items and just keeps spiking with full item completion. So they hit breakpoints at pretty similar timings on the side of Chiefs. They can team fight, though it's not perfect Wombo style composition, but they can also split push. So they are giving themselves options. And one of the biggest possibilities here is that you plant the Kai'Sa mid with Alistar and put it in side lanes where the Camille is, and really hard pressure.
So we do have a potential engage to start the day off here between Chiefs and Direwolves. Not a huge commitment from the Direwolves there. Just getting a little bit of vision down, seeing what's going on, but not seeing a whole lot, so they are quite happy to back away. Got the ward on the red buff, though, so they're just trying to figure out where Swaith is going to be starting.
Yeah, they will be able to find that out anyway. Swaith's trying to do a ward on the opposite side of the map there. Doesn't actually get anything meaningful from it, from the looks of it. One recall and swap to Sweeper for the Tarek and for Dragu on the Alistar. So should be able to clear that red buff ward if it gets spotted. The question is, does Dragu walk into the pit? Yes, he does. No vision really on the map besides the one late ward now placed at the Raptor camp.
All right, Rusty, going to love you and leave you for a moment as we bring Kuden into the conversation. Obviously, the coach here for the Chiefs roster. It'd be good to have a chat again with you, Kuden. And we've got a couple of interesting selections from the Direwolves. I want to pick your brain on that Tarek pick. Were you a little bit surprised to see that? Because we certainly were.
Are you asking me if it's nice to see it? Because I think...
Oh, well, I was asking if you were surprised to see it, but is it nice to see it, I guess?
Yeah. I don't think... Yeah, I'm surprised because it's not really good unless you have a Master Yi on your team. It's like... The only time I would pick Tarek if you have a Master Yi. So I don't see any Master Yis on... I see a Lilia, but no Master Yi.
Okay, yeah, I don't see any Master Yis either, so it seems like you're on the ball, pretty on the money there. Tell me about yesterday as well and how that's maybe affecting the team. Is it affecting the team at all not being able to play your game, or are you coming in and just feeling pretty relaxed and pretty chill as a roster?
We got pretty boomed last night, not gonna lie. We really wanted to play the game and go like 1,000 kills. We wanted to pump our KDA, but unfortunate that they had to forfeit.
Yeah, unfortunate indeed. Well, hopefully you'll be able to do that today. Just touching on the team compositions as well, you've obviously gone up against what looks like a very, very solid team comp from Direwolves. Any thoughts on that roster as a whole, or are you not afraid of Direwolves at all today?
They're pretty washed up across the board, and the champs are pretty weird, especially this patch. I think they're behind a patch or two.
All right, maybe Direwolves hasn't been doing their research, but Chiefs certainly have. All right, appreciate your time, Kuden. We're going to jump back into the game. And Rusty, I'm sure you've got a lot to talk to me about here. There has been action all over the place.
Yeah, there certainly has been. Top lane has been doing very well for Lived in his 1v1, and Swaith was also able to get a level 3 gank off in bottom lane successfully. Unfortunately, that kill did go over to Dragku. With the Ignite. So still a good kill in bottom lane, still a lot of pressure and control they're able to get from that one. And Swaith, looking to go into a blue buff steal after that against Only, was unable to do so successfully. Would have really accelerated the jungle, almost out of control in the way of this Udyr, but Only stands resilient, gets that small advantage in the jungle just in terms of time spent. And we continue the game as per normal.
You know, sometimes I don't actually mind seeing the kill go over to the support early on in the piece, especially when it's someone like an Alistair or a Nautilus or someone like that that wants to maybe get the boots online, enable the roams a little bit more. So I don't think it's the worst thing in the world to happen here for Chiefs. End of the day, you probably do prefer it to be going over to Mboma or over maybe onto Kisei or something like that. But I definitely think that Dragku can make it work, and particularly if he's able to start to influence some other lanes as a result of this, then you know, you won't be complaining too much. And so either way, it's an early kill, so it's definitely nothing to complain about for the Chiefs.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it doesn't result in anything wild. Looking at the summoners that were used there as well, Jordan, it was just the heal and the exhaust. So kind of accepting the reality that they were, in fact, just going to die. Not using the flash themselves. So that's one of those moments where, like, you'll be happy you got it. You'll be thankful you've got the first blood, bit of money in your pockets, bit of tempo for Dragku, maybe extra control wards and vision control early. But at the end of the day, flash is still available. Priority still able to be gained by the Lilia afterwards, so that first blood doesn't result in anything exceptional.
Yeah, not really going to tell us a whole lot based on the game state. We'll just have a quick look down and see if there's anything too large to note, and there isn't really. I think we're just at that point in the game where everyone's happy to be sort of farming up their minions, waiting for some of these objectives to come online, obviously Dragon fairly shortly, and that's when we're going to start to see the fireworks. Shock is back in base, I can see that right now, but he has a wave pushing into Kisei's tower, so he probably doesn't even need to invest the teleport to come back to lane. So there's really not a whole lot of shenanigans going on. We'll jump back straight into the game though. Things are sorted, which is always nice. Quick pause is a good pause as far as I'm concerned. Dragku here is going to look for a little bit of damage, but as ever, sometimes early on in the game, these 2v2 skirmishes are going to result in nothing more than just a bit of back and forth.
Yeah, tragic timing there from Dragku as well, actually, just as Guncrab uses the flamethrower, uses the active ability on that one, so it was going to apply a proc of the Gravitum onto him, and it definitely just a free route, which means the Taric can follow up. And that is also one of the combos that is most dangerous for the Taric and the Aphelios. A Swaith in top lane.
Yeah, speaking of danger, Swaith has arrived. Claire will be forced to burn the flash, but he does get out of there alive, and he's okay for the moment. Only hanging around as well.
Wants to crash this wave in for sure. Only at the very least will try and assist in this. You can see the hook shot threatened, but only comes into vision as Lived sticks to the wall. So we're just going to see a Spider-Man. And nothing more to come from that one. Wave will get pushed in. Both junglers seeing each other will be able to get the resets off. And from the looks of it, just a slight level lead to the Udyr. Now starting to get matched by Only, so he can go back to that Krug camp and reset himself.
Yeah, it's going to give Claire the opportunity for a nice timing on the reset as well. But this is what I'm talking about. Dragku getting himself online a little bit earlier on. Obviously hasn't gone for Boots 2, but has opted for the Ruby Crystal
X-Flash
and the Cloth Armor. And he's going to try and get something done in mid. Shock nicely positioning just over to the side of the lane and out of the headbutt pole range.
Looking at this gank.
Yeah, waiting. And hasn't been spotted just yet. Direwolves are in trouble. Guncrab forced immediately to flash. Now, Cupcake does still have his available. And there's a contest over the Scuttle Crab. Of course, it'll go the way of Swaith with the Smite. And Chiefs are happy with that. They'll take it. That's enough.
That was a jump scare from the Udyr, though, as he comes around. So
yeah,
we'll be thankful that they get the flash and survive if you're Guncrab, because that came out of absolutely nowhere. And of course, there wasn't a whole lot of damage to follow that up, but Udi being level 5 and also having those Merc treads means that the stuns may not do a lot to him, may even just completely miss with the move speed. Sway's still nearby though, so Dragku may look for a combo. They don't know Only's here.
Yeah, Dragku has gone in on top of Guncrab, knows there's no flash available. Swathe tries to follow up, but there's just so much damage coming through from Direwolves, and the roam there as well from Shock makes it look easy. 2 kills for Direwolves, and they get some revenge.
Yeah, opportunistic from Chiefs in the way they were playing that one out. It wasn't a set play, it was a follow-up. You know, the Udi was just doing the Krug camp. And it looked like Direwolves had overstepped, but they had such strong priority in mid and Only had already completed the enemy red buff that overreach gets backfired on massively. And they not only steal the jungle camps, they get the kills in bottom lane as well. Shock gets involved on the map and still has his teleport to come back to mid and force that priority for himself also.
There's a kill in the top lane, Rusty. Kisei has just roamed up and gotten the better of Claire. Lived, I was watching, did manage to get the ult down and a bunch of damage. Claire managed to get underneath the tower, but copped to sleep, and that kind of made things a little bit too easy for Kisei to eventually get that snipe. So a decent cross-map play from Chiefs, at least being able to get some value on the top side of the map when they're losing down on the bottom side.
Yeah, I mean, that was a teleport from Kisei, right? Flash also used up there. Just now swapped back to Ignite with his unsealed spellbook, and one of those combos with a Camille ultimate locking you in, and a Zoe bubble means it's just so much easier to hit and then follow up with the damage. And unfortunately for Claire, has itemized to survive in his lane in the 1v1. And even then, Camille has a lot of true damage with the Sheen purchase. So if they're able to actually get onto you, significant damage output onto a Gnar. It's a dangerous place to be.
Yeah, especially when I don't think Claire had the Mega Gnar available. And just look at that damage that comes out. It seems sometimes a little bit unfair playing against a Camille, and that's the exact reason why. But Claire does go Mega. That's a little HP back. Has the pots running as well, so he'll be feeling okay.
You'd always consider even ulting on these waves just to try and pressure for some damage. I wouldn't have been surprised to see that from Claire there, particularly as the wave is crashing and is so large. So, you know, if you start to be able to play a bit more coy and threaten the health bar of Lived, maybe I'm diving just by throwing boomerangs, maybe he misses farm and you actually start to get further ahead. Claire about to find himself a Swathe.
Yeah, either way, Direwolves are looking to get something out of that pressure they have in the top lane, but Lived has been given time to push the wave out and can now roam across to help contest. Unfortunately, though, there is a discrepancy in the numbers, and it's favoring Direwolves, so Chiefs are going to have to give up their blue buff. Dragku was in base, whereas Cupcake had walked up from the bot lane and now down on the bot side of the map. What is Mboma doing? He's dove on top of Guncrab, and that's not worked out at all.
I mean, Mboma uses the ultimate. He had heal, but I don't think he was ever surviving that. Dragku looking mid is not going to be anything doing. That bot lane 1v1, Guncrab had good weapons for that. And you've just gone into melee range of someone with the shuriken, so he's just going to attack twice as fast as you. That's basically a free kill. Guncrab will say thank you very much and walk away with an extra 300 gold.
Yeah, the Kai'Sa not quite at the point yet of being able to be the one-shot wonder, but it'll come. Claire stuck inside of the Camille ult. Oh dear, it doesn't really matter too much, does it? Maybe Lived had an understanding that there was a rotation coming in his direction and tried to make something of it.
They really aren't keeping track of where this Azir is at all. You know, Cupcake has been pretty active and running around on the map, has been getting some vision control, and it does make it harder to keep track of him. Vision will, of course, spot him walking now. Doesn't have too much priority on placing Vision himself as the rest of his team is in base, but the job's already done. You know, he doesn't even show up in bot lane. Guncrab gets the 1v1s, goes top lane to assist Claire. They turn that play around as well. And Direwolves starting to run away with this.
Certainly are. We haven't really seen a full proper team fight either just yet, which is where it feels like Direwolves are going to excel as well. The Chiefs need to find a way to stop the flow. Slow things down, maybe wait for the next dragon to come up before there really is anything else happening on the map. Dragku back in the bot lane for first time in a while.
As the Mobies, Claire also about to cop it again. He isn't doing well in the 1v1. We've already discussed a couple of reasons as to why that is. End of the day, Claire isn't in this lane to win 1v1. Camille was picked into it and has been doing fine. It's just the rest of the map starting to lose control of where they are that is starting to eke into the favor of Direwolves. You've also got the Mobies for that Alistar, so like you highlight back to lane for the first time in a while. He's definitely going to be here, there, and everywhere, as you can see, already mid.
Yep, not in lane anymore, although he is standing right on top of a ward. So Direwolves are going to be well aware of Dragku's positioning, and Shock will not be baited into anything silly from Kisei.
Oh, right in his face. That feels like that was meant to be a ward. Shock.
Well, we'll see if Chiefs can make something of it. Dragku is here, looks for the big headbutt pole on top of Shock and will get it. But Tarakol from Cupcake keeps everyone healthy and no one's feeling too bad at all on the Direwolves roster. Chiefs starting to bleed a bit of HP so far. Still no kill, but the Rift Herald did get its charge off, so maybe that's mission successful for Chiefs. I'm not too sure.
There was no Aphelios nearby, so Direwolves' damage output, especially after Shock had already used that ultimate, was a little bit lower. Claire also not Mega Gnar. So they didn't have follow-up in their teamfight engage. But what you saw was the strength of the Taric ultimate that isn't available. Chiefs have retained their priority in the river. You can see that reflected through the vision. And so Swaith is going to look towards starting off this dragon. Could be contested, especially with how close the Aphelios is, but we'll see.
Yeah, Liv did just start walking his way up towards the top lane, but has to turn around pretty quick. Smart now. Direwolves certainly are looking for an engage. Claire did just lose Mega though, and this could be the opportunity for Chiefs. Liv dives deep into the backlines. Gunkrab the focus down early, and now Claire starting to drop HP. Swaith, however, also will fall. And at the moment, it's really hard to say which way this is going, but Direwolves starting to bring it back, and Boma has run out of mana and only full HP, chasing them down. It has just turned back on its head. It looked like a good start for Chiefs, but maybe they just stuck around a bit too long.
Kisei's definitely just going to go down here. Might even just burn all the damage. They'll make sure that Shock gets it and also gets out of the turret range. Doesn't even take an extra auto. Direwolves do control that team fight in the end, but it was very dicey at the start. You could see just the lack of mana there for a couple of the Chiefs members on the back half of that one. Did definitely swing the latter half of the fight. But still a strong start, unfortunately, for the Chiefs. Couldn't be followed up. And that was also without now being Mega. Like, let's just
exactly
call the spade there in that team fight. That could have been worse for the Chiefs. So for them, I think they took the fight at what they perceived as the right moment.
Turns out to favor the Direwolves though, and you're starting to see some very big kills going over to the carries for Direwolves as well. Shock 303. And as he is starting to look scarier and scarier. Same can be said for Only in the Jungle on Lilia. And to be honest, even Gunkrab chimed in with a couple there as well. So he's starting to get those damage numbers pumping up as well. And it's a little unfortunate when you look across the Chiefs scoreboard. Most of those players really hurting for cash, hurting for kills, and starting to feel like they are falling behind.
I think the fact that Direwolves even come out on top in that trade is really just terrible news for the Chiefs. Like, again, I think there was 4 ultimates not available for Direwolves in that fight. How do they win that? Sometimes it makes you wonder. You know, Udyr, Zoe, not ultimate reliant champions, so you'd almost expect distinct advantages when their opponents don't have ults. At the end of the day, that's not how it plays out. Chiefs will, however, be able to move over to the Herald. They got the Drake as well, right?
Yep, they did.
Yeah. So it's still 2 objectives.
Yeah. This is their second Herald, actually, of the game as well. So it certainly seems like objective control has been favoring Chiefs so far in this matchup, but the fights themselves haven't quite been going their way. A little bit of sneaky business, maybe from Direwolves, hiding a couple of players up in the bushes in the top lane, but it's not going to matter too much. Chiefs are not pushing that wave in at all. And Boma more than happy to wait for it to crash under tower and just farm up there. Let's have Dragku hanging around. Hex Flash a little bit too far away.
Just threatening and protecting Kisei.
Oh, Kisei's not in a good spot here at all. Can he survive? Looks like the answer is yes. Helped out by the speed from the Rift Scuttler.
The answer for Claire is no. It seems to have lost a 1v1 duel. Swaith was in the area, but I don't think he was even involved in that one.
No.
Herald also summoned, so they'll break the turret, and it's an advantageous trade for the Chiefs overall.
Direwolves do just get the first turret though, so there is a little bit of a silver lining for them there. And Shock's able to push the mid-wave in as well. Kisei wants to recall, wants to base. Doesn't have that opportunity right now. A lot of side lane pressure coming through though for Chiefs. It almost feels like that might be their win condition this game. If the team fights aren't working for them, what kind of presence can the Camille have elsewhere?
Oh, even a second charge actually we've taken there. But you're right, you know, this was something that we highlighted in the draft as well. It's not just going to be front-to-back team fighting as the sole win condition. Having a Camille be ahead of the Gnar actually presents them with an extra avenue. And also means that you can, you know, move the Alistar with his Moby Boots, move the Kai'Sa if they have wave priority from mid lane to the side the Camille's at, and really provide this bastion of strength just to enable the Camille further. It does mean they need to be really particular about their vision, their setup, their control of the map as well. And they need to be placed lane assignment-wise on the correct side of the map at the correct times to set up those waves. So still requires a degree of precision here from the Chiefs. They want to do more than just team fight.
Indeed. And it feels like we only just had a dragon fight, but we've got one coming up fairly shortly again. 25 seconds for the next one. It is Cloud Drake though, so potential chance for one of these teams or both of these teams to not care too much about it. Looks like Direwolves are the ones that have the control.
Yeah, they're playing to their Camille. You're right, Direwolves have got the control. Swaith's been sitting in the jungle for about a minute without moving. Dragku moves up with him, so they definitely are just going to be taking that turret. The question from here is, do they look for the inner and dive Claire? They're about to find out that he is mini, but that would just be actively sacrificing this dragon, and it does seem to be the case.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've already had to actively sacrifice it just because they've got no priority on the bot side of the map at all. And Boma and Dragku pushing in the mid wave, but recognizing the danger that could be lurking on the bottom side of the map. Back away underneath their tower. Up in the top lane, there is a dive going on, but it's a 2v2, and that's not good news at all for Chief. Swaith did get stunned up under tower by the Taric, and now he's very low on HP. Might not be catchable, but Claire decides to invest the flash, and that could end up not working out too nicely. One thing I've learned in my time in solo queue, Rusty, is that the first rule of League of Legends is don't chase the Singed. The second rule is don't chase Udyr.
I was hoping you were going to say the second rule is don't waste your flash for no reason, but that is also a good rule. Udyr is too quick. He's got a lot of move speed items, and I think in the current season he's faster than ever, so it might be a mistake. Claire went for, I think you would call that the flash Hail Mary. You know, he just took the chance that maybe he jukes this way. It's not even a true 50-50. He could stay straight and keep running. So it doesn't actually find the kill at the end of the day. That's one of those flashes that Claire should probably keep in future, because that's quite useful when you're a Mega Gnar looking to help your team fight.
That said, overall, definitely not a bad passage of play for Direwolves. They get the dragon. They don't lose too much in the top lane. Now Dragku, Hex flashes over the wall. Wow, that was sick. Shock, low on HP now after getting stunned up. Can Kisei finish him off? Not quite. Focuses on Claire instead. Teleports all over the place. And it almost could have been something very sweet for the Chiefs, but it wasn't.
I mean, that was a nice play from Dragku. Full respect on the Alistar flashing over the wall and headbutting the correct direction. Just not enough cooldown reduction there from the looks of it. On Kisei wasn't able to get the second paddle star out and actually hit the execute. So he's able to limp away with his life. Shock, of course, having that teleport means he's able to come in, and they are looking for a flank.
Kisei has connected another sleep. That is going to work out nicely, although he has been put to sleep now as well, so gets a taste of his own medicine. Won't result in too much apart from only more or less wasting the lilting lullaby. Not a huge concern for Direwolves at this point, given there's no major objectives coming up.
Half HP there for Dragku, half HP for Kisei. It does make it... Ooh.
Dragku going to try and make it happen again. He's really trying to be the playmaker for his team, and maybe this time it has worked out. Cupcake deciding he didn't have enough time for the Cosmic Radiance, and so won't invest it, and lets Guncrab go down. So a small window of opportunity now for Chiefs.
I wonder if Cupcake decided it just wasn't worth using it for a single person and survive with his own life, save it for the upcoming fights, because I feel like he did have more than enough time to want to use that. Claire now needs to be very careful, but at this stage, should be mostly vigilant and clued onto what they're doing, but finds them anyway.
Yeah, he does, and Swaith is going to get the best dance connection. Claire forced to ult to get away. That's a big cooldown, not available right now for the Direwolves, but it is a fairly short cooldown, 45 seconds or so. So it should be up next time he needs it, really.
He actually hits Mega at the perfect time there as well, Jordan. You know, the fact that he was able to transition for a disengage was optimal, because if he had stayed mini, I think they might have been able to commit themselves more to the kill. Swaith did have the smite, did have the flashes as options, but they didn't have Camille flash or ult, so that Hextech ultimatum wasn't there. May have also saved his life.
Well, so far so good for Direwolves. Haven't lost anything in the last little passage. Yeah, not a huge deal. Dragon contest fairly shortly. Direwolves are looking into the bot side river, starting to clear out some of that vision. Does feel like that's been one of their strong suits this game so far, has been the vision control. Chiefs are always on the back foot, always coming. Regain control. Back.
Yeah, I think the proactivity of the Chiefs has helped to counteract that a little bit. You know, all the Hex flashes we're seeing very actively from Dragu have been a pretty significant deal in preventing Direwolves from having absolute control, keeping them on their toes at all times. We will start seeing a lot more poke from Kisei as well. This is a very good moment for it. As Claire hitting Meganar does have that ultimate, so can threaten here.
Can indeed. Nothing comes from it. Chiefs again are just looking to push that mid-wave in. Kisei trying to get as much damage out as possible, and that's a good connection onto Only. They do get a free turret, so there is that. Chiefs can now turn their attention toward Dragon.
Thankfully, that one from Kisei misses for the Direwolves. They would have had to probably disengage. Lived on a huge flank here as well. The bubble just missing might save them from a team fight engage. And also, Shock just says, how do you do to Kisei and halves his health? Worth pointing out that Void Staff being completed second for the Azir is super influential for their team fighting success. But the Chiefs aren't looking to just run into them and team fight.
Oh, Kisei was trying to get a Dragon steal. Will actually lose his life for it, I'd say, after the sleep. Oh, the boomerang doesn't quite connect, though. But Shock flashes forward and will finish him off. So Chiefs elect, in the end, to trade what amounts to be 2 turrets for the 1 Dragon of Direwolves. But it puts Direwolves on sole point.
Yeah, definitely worth it right now, though, right? Like, the immediate value that the Chiefs got was huge. The priority they have in mid lane now is also massive, and setting up for the Baron, for example, is a significant factor now that we're past the 20-minute mark and starting to get into the realm of can do the Baron territory. You can see they've already started this one off. Gunkrab with his 2 items. Shock's going to do significant damage as well. Very quickly, can Chiefs stop this?
Well, Kisei's going to be up in 5 seconds. We'll be able to teleport into this fight as well. So as long as Chiefs can hold things off for that few seconds, they might actually be able to salvage things. They can't. Baron goes down, favoring Direwolves, and all of a sudden, they turn the fight onto the Chiefs, and it doesn't look like there's going to be much of a contest at all in the end. Kisei teleports into his death. And that is that. Chiefs lose the Baron, they lose 2 members, and now they're going to start losing mid-towers as well.
Yeah, and you have to look at how this all starts, right? Kisei tries to steal the Dragon while his team's doing 2 turrets. Just a little bit too close. Lilia puts him to sleep, and that's it, right? They get 1 pick, and suddenly the Direwolves are saying, well, now we can do the Baron. We have a numbers advantage, and they are very successful in their setup and their execution in doing so. They prevent Udi from even getting into the pit, but they get killed on the disengage from the Baron, so the play continues, and they look for inhibitors. And Direwolves have just really put their foot down in this game and have started to snowball this one almost out of control. Inhib drops.
Well, here comes Swaith, looking to try and salvage the situation a little bit. Azir turret goes up, though, and that'll force Swaith back away. Everyone from Direwolves going to get out okay. Although Lived is still hanging around. It really seems like Chiefs are at the point where they want to try to force something. Dragku is going to go over the blast cone. Not sure whether that was by design or not, but it's Chiefs, and they've kind of forced themselves into this situation. It's all going wrong, Rusty. Kisei is going to just get blasted out of the fight, and Swaith runs away, cowering, head in his hands probably at this point.
They're just trying, to be honest, they're just trying to lose the game here, Elfish Guy. It feels like right now that was desperate from the Chiefs, but the execution, Swaith and Blast Cones, name a more iconic duo is what I'll say at this point. Direwolves trying to push their way into the win.
Yeah, they should be able to get it here as well. They have Baron, they have all 5 members here, and the Nexus turrets are falling quickly. Dragku, again, he's going to try and do his best to get in the back line, and Boma's there as well, salvaging as much as possible. But Direwolves give him one last kiss goodnight as they close that Nexus down. Lived and Swaith still alive, but it doesn't matter. Direwolves will pick up the victory and equalize the scoreline with the Chiefs. 4-3 apiece. And all of a sudden, we now have a battle for 3rd place on our hands.
Yeah, we definitely do. I mean, 606 for mid lane, 409 for jungle. Cupcake also on the Taric had a very good scoreline for himself. I think it was 0-1-12. And actually showed up on the pick quite nicely and did a lot of work with the rest of his team. And it felt like Direwolves handled the Chiefs. And once they got a lead, it never looked like slowing down. You know, there was places the Chiefs were trying to pick on, you know, such as Claire in top lane, but they always knew, you know, they always matched that play and still won elsewhere on the map every single time. So Chiefs today just could not keep up.
Unfortunately not. Well, I know that there's someone that does keep up with the best, and that's Mac. So let's get him back into the conversation. Hopefully you can save me from what's going on, Mac.
Yeah, from the sidelines, that looked a little bit odd. It seems like Chiefs were just trying to find an answer for a way back into the game. And by doing so, always seemed to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. All the ganks they were trying to set up just didn't seem to work. And, you know, this is one of them as well. This is straight after only managed to steal the red buff, which Chiefs had absolutely no idea about. Turned into a 4-man gank by the Direwolves. And from that point, it just seemed to go a little bit further downhill as the game progressed. And, of course, right towards the end, you could see Chiefs were trying to force team fights in bad situations. Didn't look like they were really working together in those team fights. And Direwolves, well, looks like they're back.
It certainly seems to be the case. Of course, this was basically the team fight that did decide the game. The option there for Chiefs to disengage was possible, but they opt to take the fight. Carries run out of mana and basically is signing the deal for Direwolves having a massive lead. From this point, you're saying maybe, you know, maybe Chiefs can salvage a team fight, look for a chance, but they keep looking to these side lanes. And the side lanes were never successful. They couldn't kill Claire anymore, and that extra person was lifting for the Direwolves like we wanted, right? It was only this time. They had to. Shock had reinforcements.
It just kept on being, like, really hard to watch because you can see what they're trying to achieve, and it just never really played out. So, unfortunately, Chiefs got a little bit too far behind. And I just want to ask you something quickly, Rusty. When Camille jumped on the wall earlier, you referred to it as a Spider-Man. Could you please tell all us noobs exactly what you meant by that?
Well, Camille's hook shot first hooks to the wall, right? And then dashes at the target. But I don't, no one else says this but me. So it's weird that I'm explaining it. But if the Camille hooks the wall and doesn't go anywhere, they just kind of stand in place. It looks like Spider-Man holding onto the wall. So
Okay.
I've just been calling it the Spider-Man.
Oh, there you go. So that's what a Spider-Man is, and that is how Direwolves managed to, I guess, get themselves in a tie with Chiefs. So now on 4 wins apiece, they are looking to climb the ladder in the second round of games, and it's been going well so far. Speaking of well, it looks like we've got Nat T having a swell old time down on the sidelines. Who have you got for us for the post-game?
For the post-game, I'm going to be joined by Shock. Congratulations on your 2nd win for the week. You know, back-to-back wins. How's that feeling?
That one I think was really a relief, to be honest. We really needed a win, especially against Chiefs, because they're probably going to be contesting for that 3rd or 4th position. So getting a win here against Chiefs was really good. Also, I think that normally we kind of win games in spite of our draft, but this game I felt like we really outdrafted them, so I was really happy about that.
I was actually going to ask you about that. You know, tell me a little bit more about the drafting phase, like what you guys were thinking through it, and then coming out of it, going into the game as well. What were the thoughts?
Yeah, so Sway is really good at like carry jungles, the like Evelyn, Kane, stuff like that. But we knew if we gave him Udyr, even though I think he can play Udyr, it's not to the same level as of his other champs, and also he really needs to be the carry of his team. So we saw it as a win condition if we gave them Udyr. And so when they took it and we got Lilia, I was really happy, yeah.
That's so good to hear. I also want to know a little bit more from what was happening on your side, especially around, I think it was the third dragon, where you guys took it, but in return, Chiefs got 2 towers. Like, what were you guys feeling and thinking during that? Were you like, this is still, we got to stay on dragon, or how was it?
Yeah, it felt a bit hard because we had the vision control, but we didn't really have the champs necessary to like force on them if they came in. But we knew if we cut it back, like we would win the fight. And if they kept going mid, we would just get the drag and we were fine to play the late game. So that's why we decided that maybe it wasn't optimal to give them 2 towers, but we were just playing to our win condition, I felt like.
Perfect. And the last question I do want to ask you is, you know, you've now finished out the first round of first round of games in the round robin. Is there any specific player across all the teams that you're like, he's, you know, someone that's pushing me to be a lot better, or someone that you feel that you're neck and neck with and you're like, I want to be better than him?
Well, in terms of mid lane, I'd say not really. I think I'm the best mid by far, and if you guys don't think that, you're probably not watching the games. But in terms of just like overall, I think like Praedyth is extremely good at team fighting. I think he's not like super good at laning, but from what I've seen, his team fighting is really, really good. And I think team fighting is not really my strong suit. I think I'm kind of more like Violet, where I'm really strong in lane, but maybe I'm not that great at team fighting. So for me, if I want to like carry as hard as Praedyth does, I think I need to improve my team fighting.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that, and congratulations again on the win, and good luck with your game tomorrow. Enjoy your night.
Thank you.
Well, there you go. So Shock is the self-appointed best mid in OS. Although, look, he's a professional, not me. So I guess his word's going to hold up a little bit better. What about you, Rusty? Your thoughts on that one?
No, I think he is as well, but it depends if you want to ask mid laners of Peace and Pentanet, because we heard their conversations yesterday. They both definitely believe they're the best. Chaz, don't ever speak wrong by Chaz, Mac. He's out to get you. If anyone asks you, he's the best mid laner, but I'm on the Shock train for sure.
Yeah, it was something as well. I really liked how they purposely let Udi go through, because they knew that Swaith was a carry champ player and not necessarily more towards the UD or like the engaged sort of playstyle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I was
We're
going
all
to say,
yeah, let's go.
what I was going to say before was that I think it's just really nice to see a little bit of confidence in the Direwolves boys. I think even just in that interview right there with Shock, we had him pre-game yesterday, and he didn't seem overly comfortable or confident in himself. But, you know, coming out of that game now, he just almost holds himself in a different manner. So I think it's really good that they've gotten these wins. It's clear that for him as a player, it meant a lot confidence-wise.
Yeah, it was good. And speaking of confidence, Jordan, you always look so sad when you get your predictions wrong, and I know that's the only reason you're sulking there in the middle. You're not smiling. You're not having a good time. What's going on? What's wrong?
Mac, I mean, you don't have to call me out for having a resting bitch face. That's just what my face looks like.
Look, I didn't call you out. I just said you look like you're having a rough time there. And if that's because you got the RBF, then it just seems to be that way. Anyway, we've got a second game to get to. So, Jordan, hopefully you'll be happier when you do get a little break here, and you guys get a break as well. So, see you for match 2 just after this one.
Grab the focus down early, and now Claire starting to drop HP. Swaith, however, also will fall. And at the moment, it's really hard to say which way this is going, but Direwolves starting to bring it back, and Boma has run out of mana and only full HP, chasing them down. It has just turned back on its head. It looked like a good start for Chiefs, but maybe they just stuck around a bit too long.
Kisei's definitely just going to go down here. Might even just burn all the depth.
But it's Chiefs, and they've kind of forced themselves into this situation. It's all going wrong, Rusty. Kisei is going to